All right, a new poll showing that President Trump would win against Joe Biden in some key swing states if the election were held today. In Arizona, the poll conducted by Fabrizio Lee shows that Trump would beat Mr. Biden 51% to 43% in Georgia, 48 to 45 in Michigan. The widest margin, Mr. Trump would win 53-41 in Pennsylvania, 51 to 45 in Wisconsin. Mr. Trump would beat Mr. Biden 52 to 42. Let's bring in our panelists to discuss. Betsy McCoy, and former Lieutenant Governor of New York, of course, and Newsmax columnist Thane Rosenbaum, distinguished professor at Touro College. I'll start with you, Betsy. I know that the election is not held today, and the Democrats are counting on all the trillions of dollars they're going to spend to make people happy between now and the next time they have an election. But how do you read these polls? What do they mean to you?
I wasn't surprised at all about this poll because Americans prefer low gas prices to the wallet-crushing gas prices they're paying right now, especially as they travel for the holidays. Americans certainly prefer affordable food as they're putting food on the table for Thanksgiving instead of Biden's price hikes on everything from turkey to pies. And of course, Americans prefer the rule of law, and they see illegals swarming across the southern border and being spread around the country, and they see looters robbing our stores. So, of course, Americans are very disturbed. I think almost anybody you put up against Biden could beat him at this point.
Yeah, that's an interesting conversation right there. But Thane, another thing about the inflation is, I've pointed this out, you can talk if you want about turkey and the stuffing and the sides that go with it, but how about going to grandma's house? How about how much it costs to fly now? How much it costs to rent a car, if you can get one and don't have to wait 2 hours to get it when you get to the airport? How about how much gas costs? How much a hotel cost? There are things that are going up by 10, 20, 40%, not just 6%, which is like the headline number of inflation.
Well, many of these prices are going up, I'm sorry, because of fuel. So I will cede this to my panelists. I'm so sorry I interrupted you.
That's okay. Go ahead, Thane.
Bob, I was relieved you weren't giving me a Hanukkah quiz, so thank you.
Well, obviously, I've already been given a hard time by one of my colleagues who says, why do I have to tell you this every year? I don't know. I'm sorry. As I told him, I said, we all forget it. So thank goodness I had somebody that could tell me. So go ahead.
You could have tripped me up on that. So, Bob, I agree with Betsy. Look, there are supply chain issues. There are other issues that the American public is disappointed. We're forgetting about our departure from Afghanistan, right? There are a number of different reasons. And of course, we learned during the Bill Clinton presidency, when he defeated the first President Bush, that we heard the term of art, it's the economy, stupid, right? And Betsy, of course, is a longtime political leader, so she knows what I'm talking about, that, you know, in times of recession, whoever is the sitting president, they tend to get punished by the public. But I would just quickly say that polls, of course, are always inherently unreliable. Remember, around this time in 2016, President Trump received almost no polling, and Jeb Bush had $110 million and was by that point was clearly the favorite. And by the second debate, the election was essentially over. So, and then the last thing I would say about this is that, remember, some of these bellwether swing states still have reforms to their voting laws that have made absentee balloting much easier. And we've learned from this last election that mail-in balloting is the secret sauce of the Democratic Party. And so and some of these reforms, like in Georgia, are still tied up in litigation. I don't think the absentee ballot issue has been reflected in these polling for the same reason. The person that is oftentimes dropping a ballot at a mobile drop-off box is not the person responding to this kind of a poll showing their support for Donald Trump.
I'm so glad Thane brought up that issue.
Yep.
I'm so glad Thane brought up that issue. I would like to weigh in, however, and say, although the sitting president, as Thane pointed out, is usually blamed for economic circumstances, in this case, It's not just a matter of who the sitting president is. This president is to blame because from day one, he has pursued a war against the fossil fuel industry, a war that has pushed up the prices not only of gasoline, but of so many things that depend on energy, from refrigeration and trucking. That's what's making our food prices so high, for example. He is to blame.
Yeah.
It's not just because he happens to be seated in the White House.
Yeah, a lot of decisions. A lot of people do feel and see, observe, and they put on the TV. They see what's going on the border, or in their communities, they see the change of all this. And like you started, Betsy, saying, you see it in what it costs when you go to the grocery store. So we'll continue our conversation. Betsy McCoy, Thane Rosenbaum, thank you very much. We'll talk again
Happy
in a little bit.
Thanksgiving.